Hi, my name is Cahn Anton, and today I'm going to show you how to make my raw brownie bites. First, I'm going to explain the ingredients that we're going to use. You can see here I have a batch that's already finished. Here we have golden flax seed. Flax comes in golden and brown. I generally prefer to use the golden variety. It has a nicer flavor, it's good in recipes, and it tends to have a little better nutritional profile. Here we have two kinds of nuts, pecan and walnut. They've both been activated, which means they've been soaked, rinsed, and then dehydrated. So they've been dried all the way back to their original moisture content. I've soaked them for about 6 or 8 hours and dehydrated them for somewhere between 8 and 24 hours. I think I've dehydrated these 24. Gives it a good crunch again. So they keep well in the refrigerator and they're good to go for recipes. I don't have to plan what I'm going to make in advance. I just keep them on hand that way. The reason I activate them like that is because the nutrients become more bioavailable. That means our bodies can absorb the nutrition better and get better results from eating. And they taste better too. They're easier to digest. All that also results in the tendency to eat fewer of them because you're getting the nutrition more efficiently and hence less of a calorie problem, which some people are concerned about. Next up is truly raw cashew butter. Cashews come in truly raw, and roasted varieties. We all know what roasted is. The plain old raw ones, generally speaking, have been steamed in order to remove the skin. And the truly raw ones are skinned by hand. It's a little labor intensive, but it yields a truly raw cashew. Then we have truly raw almond butter. This particular almond butter is made from Sicilian almonds. California almonds, even when they're not roasted, tend to be steam pasteurized because there's been a regulation passed that they have to be pasteurized. So you can get raw ones from Sicily. Next we have a whole group of products made by a company called Sunfire Superfoods. I love their products and I use them myself. They're very high quality, highly nutritious. And we've got cacao powder, which is fully fermented. That means that it's been completely fermented in the pod before the beans come out of the pod. And so when you ferment the cacao all the way, it has a nice, smooth, mellow response in the body. Then we have carob powder. This again is really raw. It's sometimes challenging to find raw carob, and this company has a great raw carob. Then we have Sunfire salt. This is a blend of 4 different salts. It's free of any heavy metal residue. Sometimes the Himalayan salts have been ground on nickel grinders and result in having some nickel fragments in the salt, which is very toxic, of course. And so this is free of heavy metals. It's got 4 different kinds of salts in it: Himalayan, Bolivian rose, Hawaiian Alea clay, and Chinese sea salt from the Ming Dynasty salt works. And it's a really wonderful salt, high in minerals and very tasty. This is blue-green algae from Klamath Lake. It's cold processed, dried into flakes, and it is a wonderfully nutritious food. A little bit goes a long way. It's optional in this recipe, but I like to put it in. It goes really well with cacao, and it's highly nutritious. Then we have a truly raw agave nectar infused with vanilla. This one is truly low glycemic. It doesn't have any additives other than raw vanilla. And then coconut oil. Okay, so those are all of our ingredients. Now for our equipment. This is a coffee grinder. I only use it to grind flax. Flax has to be consumed pretty quickly once you grind it because the oil goes rancid very fast. If you do grind it and you don't use it right away, you want to make sure to put it in the refrigerator in a sealed container. So we're going to start with a 1/4 cup of whole flax, and then we're going to grind it. Put it in our flax grinder. And so we just want to grind it until the point where we don't hear kind of a sandy sound, which is the large flax chunks jumping around. Once it gets really finely powdered, you'll notice that the sound starts to change. And again, we just grind it to the point of where we don't hear those large flax pieces jumping around. Okay, and then we just pour it into our food processor. Okay, so next up we have a cup of pecans. Okay, that's good. And a cup of walnuts. And then we're going to process it till it gets to be almost the consistency of nut butter. We're going to add our nut butters and our coconut oil and process a little more. So we want about a tablespoon of the cashew butter and a tablespoon of almond butter. And a tablespoon of coconut oil. And then I'm just going to process a little more to really get it kind of buttery. Okay, that's great. That looks really nice now. Now we're going to get vanilla agave nectar. We're going to put in 2 tablespoons. And then we're going to put in our dry ingredients. We're going to put in a teaspoon of blue-green algae and a 1/4 teaspoon of sunfire salt. And now we will put in 1/4 cup each of cacao powder. Cacao, and then 1/4 cup of carob. Turn it on. Stop and scrape down the sides. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now we're going to turn it out onto a sheet of wax paper. I use natural waxed paper, so that's non-toxic. But you can use parchment paper, you can just use a glass-lined dish if you'd like. Okay. Basically just mush it all together. And this may look like it's not very much, but these are very dense and flavorful and highly nutritious. So a little goes a long way, unlike conventional brownies, where you feel like you could sit down and eat the whole batch all at once. Okay, so then I'm going to just press it. Get it nice and firm. Pull up the sides the same way. And we're just going to make a nice big thick square or rectangle from it. And you can see it's kind of shiny because the oils have been released from the nuts. But what we're going to do is we're going to chill these, and then the oils will solidify again. Straighten out this rounded corner. Come on. There we go. So now we're gonna score them. We're just gonna make them kind of smallish because, again, as I said, a little goes a long way with these. And you'll get somewhere between 24 and 30 brownies out of a batch, depending on how small you make them. And then we'll cut along this way. There. Now, last but not least, I'm going to take some walnuts, and I'm going to just, with my hands, break them up into little pieces, flatten them into the brownies. For decoration and texture, you add a nice little crunch. And what you could do alternatively, if you like, is you can, in the beginning, you can just chop these walnuts in your food processor before you put the other ingredients in. Take about a 1/4 cup and chop them, and then take them out of the food processor and set them aside. And then at the end, after you've made your whole brownie batter, before you pour it out onto the wax paper, you can put the walnuts back in and just very quickly process to get chunky walnuts inside your brownie. So you can do it that way. So when you're all done, you can either just fold this up and put it in the refrigerator as is in a container, or if you'd like, if you want to make it fancy for serving, you can get these cute little cupcake papers and you end up with this. So it's very easy to do. And you see, it's a quick recipe and it makes lots of brownies and it lasts quite a while in the refrigerator. The antioxidant properties in the raw cacao will keep the nut oils fairly fresh. And again, I will pop these in the fridge so that the oils solidify and keep for a while as well. So thank you very much, and you can find this recipe and other raw food recipes on my website, supersimple.superfoods.com. You can also find the Sunfire Superfoods products on my website, as well as some other products that I really love, and you can find out how to join me for coaching and classes and other raw food videos. Thank you so much. Enjoy.